Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Tasliman kathiran kathira. Famma ba'du. My brothers and sisters, we are on the series of lectures on the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, on lessons from his life, focusing on his leadership style. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu to enable us to benefit from the best of all examples that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it the best of all examples, the example of his Habib and his Rasul, his messenger, his beloved Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We were talking about the concept of the extraordinary leader, about which I must say that one of the most important qualities is to be flexible. Flexibility is sometimes misunderstood to be weakness, and the willingness to compromise. In my view, flexibility, on the other hand, is a sign of strength. It is to have a leadership style that can be kind and tough at the same time as the situation demands. Many leaders err on the side of one or the other to their own detriment. The leader must simultaneously be able to dream his great vision and then to lead his people on a path that leads to the fulfillment of that dream. To be extraordinary is to be able to do both the ephemeral task of dreaming and the concrete task of translating the dream into an actual roadmap with milestones. Then it consists of finding people to fill the many roles that are bound to emerge, because no leader can do everything himself. Without a team of highly competent and dedicated people to implement the strategy, the greatest of dreams must remain relegated to the realm of desires. Recruiting a team, inspiring them to give their best, training and directing them, and finally watching them from the sidelines as they fulfill the tasks that they have been trained to do, are all roles that the extraordinary alhamdulillah, that the extraordinary leader must perform. One very important thing to keep in mind when studying the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the biographies of his Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajmain is that they were human with likes and dislikes. They felt sad and happy. They grieved and rejoiced. They succeeded in some things and not in others. They had families. They loved some people and not others. It is this very fact that they were human, like we are human, which makes their example so powerful and encouraging for anyone who wants to emulate them. If Rasulullah ﷺ had been an angel or some otherworldly creature, if he had been a superman who could fly and vanquish armies with a single breath, it may have been very exciting to see that, but we would have been justified in saying, I can't emulate a superman or an angel. But Rasulullah ﷺ was attacked and injured in At-Taif. He was injured and bled and almost lost consciousness in the Battle of Uhud. He suffered bereavement many times. He lost his mother, his most beloved wife, our mother Khadijatul Kubra radiyallahu anha. He lost his uncle Abu Talib. He lost all his children except his daughter Fatimatul Zahra radiyallahu anha before he passed away. He fell sick and was cured. He felt pain, hunger, grief and happiness. Yet he never faltered in his effort, never gave up, was never frustrated or depressed or angry at those who would not listen to him. So when we read the stories of the seerah and what Rasulullah ﷺ or the Sahaba did we must keep this in mind that they were human and so were subject to the same anxieties, fears, hopes, aspirations, and apprehensions as we are. Yet, they never lost faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They had tawakkul and their Rabb supported and helped them. He is also our Rabb and will also support and help us if we are like them. Rasoolullahﷺ appointed Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu as commander-in-chief of the army, even though there were many others who were famous warriors of the time, and gave him the title of Saifullah, the sword of Allah. One very critical factor in the appointment of Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu was the way Rasulullah put the success of his mission. He put the success of his goal above his own likes and dislikes. Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu had been an enemy of Rasulullah until that time and was the one responsible for the debacle at the Battle of Uhud, where, thanks to his cavalry charge, the Muslims lost 70 of their number, including some very eminent Sahaba who Rasulullah loved very much. Among them was Musab bin Umayr radiallahu anhu, the envoy of Rasulullah on whose invitation most of the major personalities among the leadership of the Ansar in Medina accepted Islam. There was Abdullah bin Jahash radiallahu anhu, the brother-in-law and cousin of Rasulullah whose sister Zainab bint Jahash is among the Ummul Mumineen. And most of all, among those who were Shaheed in Uhud, who attained Shahada in Uhud, was Hamza bin Abdul Muttalib radiallahu anhu, the uncle, the companion, the friend, the supporter of Rasulullah whose death literally broke his heart. He would weep with the pain of his parting every time he heard his name. Yet when it came to choosing someone to command the army, Rasulullah chose Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu over everyone else. We must pause to reflect on what it must have taken in terms of dealing with his own emotions to do this. If you read the account of how he greeted Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, when he and Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu came to Medina to accept Islam, it's a case study in how to keep your goal foremost in your decision making. When Rasulullah received the news that Khalid bin Walid and Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhuma were headed to Medina, he issued orders that nobody was to mention Uhud to them or to criticize them, and that they were to be made welcome. This was necessary because there were many families in Medina who had lost their loved ones in the Battle of Uhud. It is a mark of how the Sahaba obeyed Rasulullah that not a single person said anything critical to Khalid bin Walid and Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu. On the contrary, the cry was raised that the Quraysh have given us their cream. When they came to Masjid al-Nabawi, al-Sharif, Rasulullah stood up from his place to greet them, and he put his own shawl on the floor and asked Khalid bin Walid to sit on it. And after they had accepted Islam, he conferred on Khalid bin Walid the title of Saifullah and gave him command of the Muslim army. Let's reflect on this and see how tough it must have been to not only treat someone who had caused you so much harm and pain well, but also to honor him and give him command of the most critical resource, which was the army. Looking at this from another angle, for someone like Khalid bin Walid, who was a natural commander and who had served as a commander, to accept anyone else's authority over himself would not have been easy and may not have worked at all. His nature was not to obey orders, but to command. Rasulullah recognized that and gave him a position where he would be able to operate best, and all his talent and energy could have been used to the best advantage. Let's reflect on how many of our youth are throttled and suffocated in positions where they are forced to work under doddering relics of a bygone age only because they are older. What does that do to our organizations and their potential to create a positive impact in the world. Rasoolullahﷺ appointed people on merit alone. He did not appoint a young man to, within quotes, support the youth. Nor did he deny a young man a leadership position because he was too young. He sent Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu as his envoy to Medina when he was only about 17 years old. He appointed Sa'ad bin Mu'adh radiallahu anhu as the governor of Yemen when Sa'ad radiallahu anhu was in his early 20s. Both these appointments and many others were done purely on merit and capability. Rasulullah ﷺ did not insist on doing everything himself, nor did he give authority only to his friends. He appointed people according to their capacity to deliver results. Another incident which shows the objective and wise leadership style of Rasulullah ﷺ was when on the way to Makkah with his army, the night before they entered Makkah, it was reported to him that Sa'ad bin Ubadah radiallahu anhu, as the commander of the Ansar, was saying, Al-Yawm Yawmul Malhama. Today is the day of the great slaughter. Rasulullah ﷺ said, Al-Yawm Yawmul Marhama. Today is the great day of great mercy. And then he removed Sa'ad bin Ubadah radiallahu anhu from his command and gave the command to his son. What's also clear in this is the wisdom of appointing the son in the place of the father instead of giving the command to anyone else. In a tribal society with tribal loyalties running deep, appointing anyone else could have had a demoralizing effect on the Sahaba, on the Ansar. We can see how this was a decision that combined compassion with edge, the ability to take hard decisions. Those who learned to lead from Rasulullah ﷺ also practiced his way. One of the most remarkable of them was Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. During his Khilafah, a man from Egypt complained to him that the son of Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, who was the governor of Egypt and who was the conqueror of Egypt, had beaten him up, and that Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu had not taken any action. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu summoned the complainant, Amr ibn al-As, and his son radiallahu anhu to Medina. And in his court, he ordered the complainant to lash the son of Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu in public, in the court, in front of his father, with the father watching. This was done. And after that, he said to the man, now whip the father for raising a son like this. The man declined and said that he was satisfied that justice was done. On another occasion, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu was inspecting public grazing lands in Medina. He saw some camels there and asked people who they belonged to. They said to him, they are your son Abdullah's camels. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu confiscated the camels and remitted them to the Baitul Mal, to the public treasury. When his son asked him the reason, he said that he was sure that other camel owners must have given precedence to his camels as he was the son of the Amir, and so perhaps injustice had been done to them. On another occasion, two sons of Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu had gone they had been in Damascus and were returning to Medina. And that was Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar and Asim ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. So the governor of Asham, Abu Musa al-Ashari radiallahu anhu, had some money, he had some funds to send to the Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu in Medina. So he asked these young men if they would take the money. They agreed. Then they asked Abu Musa radiallahu anhu whether they could be permitted to use those funds to trade, that is, buy goods with them instead of simply carrying the gold coins, and sell those goods in Medina and give the capital amount, the actual amount which was sent, to the Khalifa and keep the profits. And they said if there is a loss, then we will make it up and give the capital amount to the Khalifa. Sayyidina Abu Musa al-Ashari radiallahu anhu agreed and permitted them to do this. However, when they returned to Medina, and gave the capital amount to their father, the Khalifa, Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and he heard this story, he demanded that they should also give him the profits and entered the entire amount into the state treasury, the Baitul Mal. Now Asim bin Umar radiallahu anhu, he asked his brother Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu to ask his father why he had done this. Abdullah bin Umar refused, and he chose to simply accept the ruling of the Khalifa and do nothing. But Asim radiallahu anhu asked his father why he had done this. Obviously he was upset because it was their money. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said, I don't want even the shadow of suspicion of wrongdoing to fall on me or my family, and to have to answer for it before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The point I want to make is that a leader who cannot take hard decisions will invariably fail, no matter who it may be. Finally, the extraordinary leader must create a system that can take his legacy onwards long after he has gone the way of all life. For personal charisma that remains untranslated into processes, this is destined to die with the leader. Remembered with nostalgia maybe, but of no benefit to those who come after. For any great enterprise to succeed, its leader must lead its transformation from being person-led to becoming process-driven. Failure to do so invariably leads to the legacy of the leader not transcending the generation change. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the wisdom to learn from the beautiful seerah of Rasoolullahﷺ, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent and pointed out to us, as I mentioned, as the best source for us to learn from and as the best example for us to emulate. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to do this, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for barakah in it, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to benefit the way the Sahaba of Rasulullah benefited. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.